All right, we're back in.
There we go. So Scott, I watched your video last week,
Mm.
and I could clearly see you had some moments where you had to deal with anger last week. Tell me what you're anxious about this week.
I'm anxious that this video will take the rest of my life to produce. So,
Well, let's talk about that then.
Let's do
Okay.
my name is Scott Vermillion. This is Jeremy Williford, and we're here to talk about who's taming whom. We're talking about our emotions and what we can do about it, because when our emotions get the better of us, it's never a fun way to live. So today we're going to talk about the emotion of fear and our knee-jerk reaction to worry. So Jeremy, tell me a little bit about how fear kind of creeps up into your life.
Well, there's two elements. There's one which is, the fear that we have that is innate within us. I mean, there's a good level of fear that helps us to deal with our environments, right? And so, in some cases, if there is, physical danger near us, and our heart rates accelerate and our bodies really go into this mode of dealing with whatever element it is, there's some healthiness to that. And there's also some healthiness of fear that helps us to focus.
Yeah.
Whenever we're afraid of something, we're pretty intentional. We're focused on that, and it helps us. It helps me to be closer to God, because whenever I'm afraid of something, I feel like, God, I need you near. And then it really helps us build that bridge. However, whenever that fear kind of settles into just anxiousness and worry, now all of a sudden there is no more benefit to that fear. Because if we're not dealing with it and we're not being present with the Lord in it, all of a sudden that anxiousness and worry, that can start robbing you.
Yeah.
And that starts robbing you of joy, it starts robbing you of time, it starts robbing you of the things that have been given to you and the things you need to be thankful for. And it just really is a spiral.
Yeah.
And so we really focused on how to deal with it whenever it's there, whenever we do have worry. Because we're gonna have worry, but how do we separate healthy fear and actions with that from unhealthy worry and anxiousness?
Yeah, fear is one of those things, those emotions that isn't pleasant to experience, right? We don't like fear, whether, some people like going to horror movies and like to be scared, but it's sort of an adrenaline
big roller
rush.
coasters.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think we can build a barrier to say, I don't want to fear anymore. And so we replace that with worry.
Right.
We say, well, if I'm worried about that, then I won't fear it, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're like you said, it just robs us blind.
And a lot of the times in that worry, what happens is we try to deal with it ourselves. We're like, oh, well, I'm worried about this. Either I get kind of paralyzed by it and, I don't know what to do, or, oh, I'll just try these different things. I'll just try, hey, maybe it's something physical I need to go do. And if I get that done, then maybe I won't think about this anymore.
Right.
Or maybe if I just had a beer, maybe that would just make it, maybe a couple beers, maybe that would go away.
Yeah.
And all that does is kind of compound that worriness. It doesn't go anywhere. And so in class, we even mentioned that some people wake up in the middle of the night. I'm one of these guys where all of a sudden, 2 a.m.,
what's going on?
Yeah, and now I got this thing, and now one of the people in class call it monkey brain, where they just cannot focus on anything because all they're thinking about is the worry and anxiety, and nothing's getting done to achieve it, or to fix it. It's just this anxiety, and the Lord tells us what to do with that.
Yeah. So that's a great segue here. So tell us. So when we experience this fear, I think what you were saying earlier is there's a lot of good things that does. But what happens when it turns into worry, when we allow that fear to take over and it just takes us hostage? What would be some things that we can do?
That's great. So in the Bible, we have Philippians 4, starting in really 4:4 and then all the way through 4:9. He gives us some great insight into how to deal with this, because he knows it's going to be there. And in 4:6, he says, do not be anxious about anything.
Yeah.
And that covers everything. He says, do not be anxious about anything, but with prayer and supplication of thankfulness, come back to me and find me. And he's saying, I'll be with you in this time. But that's on us to make sure that we find the Lord in that sense of fear, that we go seek him out through prayer, and then through giving him thanksgiving, through really focusing on what he has already done for us. And we had one suggestion in class, which was look back in your life and all the times he has carried you through these similar areas where you were anxious, and he delivered you through that. Remember that, recall that, give thanks for that. I thought that was a beautiful opportunity. I think another good opportunity we have is bring your worries to light. You know, share them with a friend, share them with your spouse. Be open with them and say, bring this worry, this anxiousness to God and to others and say, this is what I'm worried about. Because I think that by bringing it to light, we can actually deal with it. So many times you see your kid and you know he's struggling with something or she's struggling with something. And the only way to deal with it is to bring it to light. And so I think that's a real powerful thing to do that in our culture, people don't want to talk about their fears.
No, it is. What happens is, I think, is you know people care when they have something to respond to.
Yes.
That's real in our lives, right? And when we talk about a fear and someone holds that and encourages us and says, hey, you got it, you can do this, it all of a sudden goes, yeah, it's not that bad, and I have resources. And same with prayer. You know, when we tell the Lord what we're facing and what we're dealing with, I mean, he's not surprised by that. I mean, he says, come to me. Like, this is a resource and a tool for you to know that you're not alone. But like you said earlier, when we try to do it on our own, it just never turns out well.
It just spirals.
Yeah.
It just spirals, and it's just one, me and my wife always use the term, well, what I need to deal with this is a bigger shovel, because you're just burying it, you're just burying it, and it just
becomes... Get a backhoe.
Yes. Yes. So by bringing it to light, by having prayer, by having thankfulness, we also open ourselves up to receive the grace from others or the grace from God that he has to give to us. So that's another opportunity that we have. And I think that one of the practices that we talked about, which is really powerful, is just saying the Lord's Prayer. Whenever we're woken in the middle of the night, reflecting on the Lord's Prayer, starting with hallowed be his name, and really finding joy in who he is and what he's done for everyone. And then really get into, each element of that prayer and find peace, because he has peace to offer us. He has joy to give us. And all worry does is it robs us of our peace, robs us of our time, our focus, and our joy. I mean, there is nothing good that comes with it. In fact, earlier in scripture, where he says, worrying cannot add 1 second of your life, but it can take a ton of it.
It can take a lot of seconds.
Yes.
Well, that's really good help this week. Thanks, Jeremy. And my encouragement is just to try some of these things. When you feel fearful, don't go to worry, but instead turn that into a conversation with a friend, a spouse, the Lord, and see what happens. See if some of these things, when you start to recall thankfulness of how he's been involved in your life in the past, and how he takes on the burdens of our present, that it really gives us confidence. So try that and give us some comments. Tell us how you're learning or what you're learning about trying to tackle this whole emotion of fear and resisting the whole impulse to worry.
Yeah, maybe we could tame, like we tamed anger last week. We can maybe tame fear, and there's always opportunities to tame worry.
Yeah, because it's there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, everybody. My name is Scott Vermillion. This is Jeremy Williford, and we're here to talk to you about taming
fear.
I don't know what we're talking about.
And worry.
Who's taming whom is really what we're talking about.
Yes.
Let me try that again.